shield wall!
All right, what's going on, everybody? My name is Antonino Fazio. I'll be the host on this podcast. This is my cousin joining me, Peter Fuda. He'll be the co-host. And today we're going to be talking about the 3 pillars of success. That includes balance, moderation, and sustainability. So, first of all, before we get into that, for those who don't know me, and Peter as well, we're both competitive powerlifters. I work construction right now, currently. I am in the family business. We do masonry work, so that includes block, brick, concrete, everything that has to do with basically hard. It's just hard work. Anything construction.
Lifting heavy shit all day and then going home and hitting the gym and lifting more heavy shit.
Exactly. That's pretty much what. Thanks, Pete. That's pretty much what it is in a nutshell. Yeah. So I've been doing construction in the family business for 3 years. Before that, I was in college for business. I went to Sage College in Albany. I currently live in Albany, New York. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I've been competitively powerlifting. I have a national record in the bench press right now in the 90 kilo weight class with 496 pound bench press. I recently competed a couple months ago where I totaled 1706, I believe, in the 181 weight class in USAPL.
Told it like it was nothing, dude.
Yeah, I had a little bit in the tank.
you had a little more. Yeah, definitely.
So.
Yeah, all right.
And Peter also, he's been powerlifting as well. He started powerlifting 2 years ago.
Yeah, I've been going for 2 years strong right now.
You want to talk about how you got into that, Pete? A little bit of heartbreak and stuff, and how it led you to this.
Yeah, I'll give a little background. So I actually just started a new job as well. So we'll get into that first. I was working at UPS for a while, and then I was in a relationship for 4 years. Ended up getting broken up with, a little heartbreak motivation. I had my cousin over here. He was like, dude, you should start lifting. He didn't force me, pressure me, or anything. Just, started lifting, was sending him videos. He was like, dude, I think you could be really good at powerlifting like me. So, one thing led to another. He started coaching me, and I've been doing it for 2 years now. I think about maybe 2.5 now. But, so, it's been a rough, bumpy road because I was working at UPS, working part-time. And then I just got a full-time job like 2 months ago. I'm now a longshoreman. So I've been trying to balance that along with lifting, along with, trying to get this podcast in. It's hard to balance everything. Meal prepping, cooking, so it's tough. So we're gonna kind of sit here and talk about that today, how to just balance everything in one shot. And, it's not easy. So
I was just going to actually say that. I was going to piggyback off that. That's why we decided to come on here and create this podcast, because Peter and I, we're pretty introverted, and Pete's gonna get into kind of his lifestyle. Pete's been gaming for a while. He lives in like a gaming household. All his brothers were brought up gaming. Like, they would game for hours. He's got the gaming headset on right now.
I got the Razer headset.
I got the gaming headset on too. I got the Turtle Beaches on, but I'm a fake dude. I was never good at video.
Xbox gaming headset.
Yeah, I was never good. I mean, he was PC. He's hardcore. Those PC players are something different. But so we're gonna kind of talk about how we struggled with balance, and how when we were most unhappy and unfulfilled in our lives, we found that we were both lacking balance. So like I was saying, we're both introverted individuals. So for us to come onto a podcast and, come on here and actually talk, it's because we feel that we have something to offer that other people are going to benefit from. And we feel like we're going to help others as well, because if we just came on here and we were just bullshitting and didn't have something valuable to offer, we just simply wouldn't do it, because this takes a lot of energy for us. And if we feel like we're not helping people, we're just going to conserve that energy, save it for the week. So I'm hoping that we could get some valuable information out there with this. And I think we could help a lot of people out, because Peter and I, with our difficult lifestyle, where we're working back-breaking jobs, a lot of mental, physical stress, as well as competing, it could kind of be overwhelming. Life in general could be overwhelming. So that's why we really sat down and we were talking about how we can put this into a podcast and structure it so that we could get the message out to people and help other people who are struggling with this sort of thing, with the balance and maybe feeling a little bit unhappy, and they just lack the self-awareness, because gaining that self-awareness, trying to figure out why you're feeling a certain way, sometimes you could just feel a certain way and you don't really know why you're feeling that way, and you just don't want to feel that way, you know? So maybe this will make others more self-aware of why they're feeling certain ways. You know, Pete and I have both been down. We know we've experienced the lowest of lows, and we've experienced the highest of highs. So just learning how to balance that and understanding your own emotions, that's what we're going to really try to, show you guys. So we're going to go over balance, moderation, and sustainability. All right. So this was honestly the key to making Pete and I feel more fulfilled and just more content in our own lives. Okay. Because Pete, you could agree that you were probably at your lowest when you had a girlfriend and all you were doing was just like basically trying to make her happy, and that was your thing. I mean, it ate at your relationship, and other aspects of life. You didn't see your brothers a whole lot, you know what I mean? So like you really lost that balance, and I think that was the best thing that happened to you, that relationship not working out, because what it led you to do was find your balance. So sometimes you need to experience bad things in order for something good to happen and for you to see it in a different light. I know you got something to
Well,
say,
yeah.
Pete. You're on the tip
Well,
of your tongue. Go ahead.
well,
I don't want to
because
steal your thunder.
everything's a building block. You build off everything in your life. So whether something bad happens to you or something good happens to you, it's still a building block in your life. So something shitty could happen, and you're like, why did this happen to me? I like to say I'm more of a Christian, So I'll sit there and be like, God, why did this happen to me? But I like to always say everything happens for a reason. So yeah, something that I thought at the time was really bad for me actually helped me get to where I'm at today, and I actually love where I'm at today. So everything happens for a reason.
Right. So talk about a little bit how that allowed you to, that moment in your life, because as a result of that, you had a couple options, and I think a lot of people have a couple options in that point. Okay, so you're at a fresh breakup, right? As a male, you just broke up with a woman,
And this goes
and
both ways. This could go with females too.
right, it
It's not
could,
just one.
yes, but you had an option. You could have just went out, clubbing, screwing around.
And I did.
That's usually the
I
get
actually
back.
did. I actually did for I think, what was it? Maybe about a month. Not even. I think I went to like 2 to 3 clubs, and I was like, "This is stupid." Like I had fun the first time, and then after that, like second, third time, I was like, "All right, I'm over it." I ended up getting into a fight with the bouncers with my brother. It was a whole big thing, dude. It was terrible.
But
After
but
that,
why
I
but why
like,
was it
"That's it."
stupid, Pete? Because you didn't feel fulfilled. You would go out
It didn't
and
make
you
me
would wake
feel
up.
anything. Like
You
it made me feel good in the time. I was having fun. I was drinking, but I didn't feel what's the word I'm looking for?
you didn't feel
Accomplished.
fulfilled. You didn't
I
feel
didn't
like
feel
you achieved
accomplished.
anything.
Nothing.
Like you were hurting. You were hurting. So you went out and tried to do what you thought was gonna help. And at the end of the day, it doesn't help. That's just like that is the definition of depression. When you just start going out and
Just
you're
trying to make
trying to
yourself
you're
feel
trying to
better.
make yourself feel good, and you're chasing that instead of.
You're trying to make yourself feel good with negative things
It
like
just doesn't
drinking
work.
and
Isn't that funny how that doesn't work? It just no matter how many times you do it, no matter how many shots of whiskey you take, when you wake up and that wears off, you are the same person
yeah.
that you were before. You didn't achieve anything more, and you didn't achieve anything less. You're the same exact person that
So
you
I had
were.
to channel,
So
yeah, I had to channel my energy towards something else, and that's where the lifting came in, and now I'm where I'm at now.
And I couldn't believe it, because I've helped a lot of athletes over the years, and I've seen a lot of people just fall off, because that's another thing. Hard work, it's also difficult. A lot of people, they don't want to work hard and put in the work. So when Peter, I had a couple bad run-ins with a few clients, because I also coach powerlifting, not as much anymore, but I only
What
work
am I?
with a few
I'm the
people.
last one. I'm the last
Nah,
one
yeah, I
standing.
work with Pete, and
I'm the last
yeah.
one standing.
I just, I want to work with people who take it seriously, and there's also a lot of powerlifting coaches out there where I feel like there's not really a need for me. But, you know what? There was a need for Peter needed
It's
me back then,
saturated now.
and he came to me after fresh after the breakup, and he was like, "Listen, man, I don't want to just go out and party and drink. It makes me feel like shit. I want to try to get into lifting and kind of do what you do." So I said, "All right." And in my head, I'm just like, "All right, Peter's gonna do this for a week, and then he's gonna leave me alone." So I give Peter, I write it out. I'm like, what the hell am I gonna give him to do? So I just give him a couple
Well,
things to
I had
do.
all the motivation in the world too.
I
So
didn't know that though, but also motivation's another thing. You have motivation, and then
I
you
don't have it.
realize,
I don't have it anymore. Once in a
well,
while, I have it now.
well, that's what I'm saying. You have motivation at first. That's what gets you going. But then the discipline is what keeps you going. And honestly, that's what I wasn't sure about when I first gave you the program because I know a lot of guys fall off. So, and you being so far, I'm like, I don't know if this is going to work because if I have somebody there telling me, Antonino, you got to do this, this, and that, and they're on my ass, it's hard. I mean, I could still be on top of them, but he lives so far. So I said, okay, I'm going to give Peter a week's worth of just training, easing him into it. I said he'll probably do it for 2 weeks. He's not going to text me anymore, right? So I give Peter a workout for a week, dude. He does it and he comes back. I'm like, okay, he's back for week 2. I'm like, I'll write him up another week. Wrote him up another week, and then he comes back again on the third week. So I'm sitting here, I'm just like, okay, he's 3 weeks in. I said
Started
I
sending me
think he's
shit to
start.
buy.
He's starting to like it, and then so I
I
think
think
what
that's when I
really
came down to you, right?
I was gonna say I think what really pulled him in is that we were working together for about 2 months, so 8 weeks, and then he decided he wanted to come visit. It was right in I think it was around this time of year, 2 years ago actually, in September.
Well,
You
it was
came,
actually.
it was you came with the
It was.
family, and you guys spent the weekend. I remember we went apple picking as a family. It was a fun time. But Pete and I got up, and I showed him basically like my whole weekend. I work out on Saturdays every Saturday. It's been a ritual for me. So we got up on Saturday morning, and I said, "Listen, you come with me. You're gonna do my routine." So we went to the coffee. We got up. We had a breakfast. We went to the coffee shop, had a couple espressos because we only drink black coffee. And then after that, we had a little coffee talk, like a little pre-gym discussion.
He's dumbing it down a little bit. We had the vibes going.
We had the vibes
Vibes
going,
were
man.
immaculate.
But that's what brought you in. You loved that. It was like we
Yeah, we
went.
woke up. We went to the coffee shop. He was like, "I'm gonna show you what we do." We went to the coffee shop. He was getting me into. He was like, "We're gonna go to the coffee shop, get to the gym, be done at this time. This is what we're gonna do." We got to the gym, got our workout in. I felt amazing. We recorded a couple videos. Posted a couple TikToks. And he was like, "Dude, that's what put me over the edge." And we live 3 hours away. So I think our family was going up for something. My parents had to do something with his parents, so we
I
go up
think
to
you
the
guys
drive
just
up
wanted to
there.
visit, but it was
Whatever
perfect
it
because
was.
that's what brought you in.
It literally put me over the edge because I was lifting and I was like, I loved it. I had all the motivation, but it sucked lifting by yourself. Now I rather lift by myself. I love lifting by myself, but it sucked lifting by myself. And then he showed me how it was done. He showed me the vibes. He gave me the squat sleeves, the knee sleeves.
I started giving him
Gave me
some
the knee
equipment.
sleeves.
Yeah, I gave him
Yeah.
some equipment.
So that's really actually what put me over the edge. And yeah, that's
But it was an awesome time, man. So he came over, and that's what really pulled him in, and that was the first step I would say to Pete's journey. And then after that, shortly after, I think about 6 months after he did his first competition, did great, and that was right in February, I believe, late February of that year.
first
You did your first competition. He did great. He went 9 for 9, and he had a blast, and that's what really brought him in. So through that, Peter learned a lot. He learned a lot of the things that I learned on my journey with powerlifting. And he soon realized that it wasn't, at first, it was about having fun, all the motivation. And
I
then
wasn't working
after,
full time, so I had a
it
lot of
wasn't
time
working
on my
full time. He
hands.
had a lot of time. So it was all about lifting. As he started working and real life started to set in, he started to realize that it's
It got
about the
hard.
balance. It got hard. So
It
you
still
can't
is
just.
hard. I'm not gonna lie.
It is. It's always going to be hard. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it.
Exactly.
But basically, we broke it down, and this is what I've been trying to teach Peter all along through powerlifting, is you need to have a balance of everything that you're doing in your life. You need to exercise moderation across the board, no matter what you're doing, and what you are doing needs to be sustainable, most importantly. So if I
How
have
did we do it? How did we do it?
well, for me, for because we're the same but a little different because you're in a different phase than
I'm
I
still
am.
in progress. Yeah, all right,
When
get going.
but I'll get into it. So when I first got out of college, okay, I was coming off of collegiate nationals. I did very well. I totaled, I think, 1648 at 182. I was a junior at the time. This was right after COVID. I did well. I got second place. The kid who I was competing with, he tied me for the win, but he won because he was less on body weight. So I did that competition, and that was the best meet I've ever done. Okay, then in the summertime, I was out of college. So I was at college at the time. It was perfect. I had a good balance going. I was going on daily walks. I was going to class. After class, I was working part time with insurance as a salesman. And then after that, I would go to the gym. I had a very good set schedule. And I went to this competition. I did the best I ever done. And it was because I had balance. I wasn't aware of it at the time, though, because I thought I was too good for the balance. So I was going to my next competition a little out of balance, and I was too much with the lifting because I was coming off a really good performance. I thought I was on my high horse, and I was like, I don't need the balance, I don't need the moderation. I was going just absolute balls to the wall with training, and I was lacking, honestly, looking back, I was lacking in my relaxation technique, right? How I was able to unwind. I was always go, go, go because I thought that's what I had to be in order to be successful because I was coming off such a high from doing something I never thought would be possible for me to do. And I try to continue that by being more aggressive, and that wasn't the answer. So I did another competition, my last collegiate competition, and I did not do well. I didn't do well at all. I missed some lifts. It was sloppy, and it was because I wasn't balanced and I was trying to do too much. And going into the summer, I still continued that same hard headed, go, go, go mentality, ended up getting hurt. Severely hurt. I strained my hip flexor and it was bad. I couldn't walk for a week. I was limping, had to go to physical therapy. That barely helped. And I was up and down with training for a year. It was very hard for me to get back on my feet. That's around the same time Peter came into the mix, and that's when I started helping him. And honestly, through helping him, I started to realize that I was lacking balance, moderation, and sustainability. I was doing training that wasn't sustainable, and I wasn't doing moderation for anything, and I was overwhelmed, to be honest with you, with the work that I was doing,
You're
the
putting too much
construction.
on your plate, and you
I was
weren't.
spreading myself out too thin. You're right. I put too much on my plate, and I thought because I was so strong that I could handle it. And the truth is that you can only handle so much if you are not living in harmony and in moderation. You're ultimately going to pay the price one way or the other, and you're not going to be the best version of yourself. So I figured out the balance. Okay, I understood that I needed time to relax, I needed time to work, and I needed time to train, and then I needed family time and all of that. All these things come together. It's not just training. I'm a really good powerlifter, so it's just training, training, training. It's
You got to a
everything.
schedule and a routine. So
Yes, you need
so
you need
so
exactly.
walk us through your day and how you balance it all out.
Now, well, now
Yeah.
what I do, all right, so now what I did before was it was wake up, scramble to get ready, go to work, come home from work, drink a lot of caffeine, work out, couldn't sleep because it was too close to bedtime and I was too caffeinated. I was all wired up like on social media, playing Xbox, whatever, and I would wake up feeling like shit and doing it all over the next day. So it wasn't until I realized that I wasn't making any progress and I'm just like, I'm burning myself out. So now what I do is my day looks a lot like this. The number one thing that I learned is preparation. You need to be prepared. So before Pete and I hopped on this podcast, we both meal prepped. It took us an hour. We're good to go. We're ready to start work tomorrow. So now we do the podcast. We're going to do the podcast for a little bit. We're after this podcast, we're going to go outside, get some sunlight, relax. It's our Sunday. We're going to relax. Okay, we're not going to be super stimulated. We're going to read a book, go relax, take a warm shower. Not together, but you know, he's. I just had to make that clear, you know.
We can take an ice bath together because we'll have the bathing suits on.
Yeah. But still, he lives in Jersey anyway, so it'd be kind of hard to do
You
that. They
go
don't. Elon Musk hasn't invented a way to do that yet. So closest thing is do it on FaceTime. But
FaceTime, exactly.
yeah, but yeah. So wait, what was I saying? I lost track after that.
You were talking about how now we're doing the podcast, so
Yeah. So preparedness.
right.
We're prepared. That's the
We
biggest
ate
thing. We're
breakfast, we
prepared.
meal prepped, and we didn't rush through any of it. We texted each other. It was kind of funny because I woke up. I was like, "All right, we're gonna do podcast 10 o'clock." I'm meal prepping. It took me an hour to meal prep. I started at 9. By 10 o'clock, I was like, "All right, 10:15." Then I ate breakfast. I did what I had to do, and I'm like, "All right, dude, 10:30." So I didn't rush through it. I still balanced it out. So even though I wanted to get on the podcast at 10, it didn't end up working out that way. Which you obviously want to set times for yourself to where you're gonna do things. But if it don't work out right away, then maybe next time I should have woke up a little bit earlier. Got up at 8, meal prep till 9, ate breakfast, then got on the podcast at
But
10.
you learned from that. That's good. You
Exactly.
learned that
I still
your
had it
planning
balanced
was
out
off.
though, but I just my times were off a little bit, which is not a crazy big deal.
So you're gonna readjust next weekend when we do the podcast and you want to meal prep for the week before. You got to get up an hour earlier
Either
to
wake
get
up a little bit earlier or set my times a little bit later. Start the podcast
exactly,
at 11 instead of 10.
exactly. And so we will want to be prepared, right, Pete? We want to be
Right.
prepared because we know that if you're prepared, if you were to just go into, say, an auditorium and go speak to people and you don't know what, you don't have an outline or you're not prepared and you're just shooting from the hip, that could cause a lot of anxiety. But if you're prepared, you practice
You're
before,
overwhelming yourself.
you're gonna go in and you're gonna execute. Same thing with lifting. We don't just go to a competition, and not train. You're training for the competition. You are preparing for a competition. So if you prepare the right way, it's gonna take a lot of stress and pressure off you when it comes to do the thing that you have to do. Okay, and that's what it comes down to: preparedness. So I like to prepare. That's the first thing. What that means is I'm meal prepping. I'm making sure I have all my food for the day so that that's one less thing that I need to worry about. All right. So Monday comes, I get up, I wake up, I take my time, I go downstairs, I make my breakfast, I'll make my espresso to go, and then I'll go to work. I'll go to work. I'll do an 8-hour day construction. Every day's different. There was times a couple months ago we were on a pretty tough job where we were doing brickwork, so I had to be really on top of my game. This was important. Making sure I was prepared was important. So I was really making sure that I had my meal set so that when I got to work, I'd have to show up a half hour early, mix the mud, get the mud in the pans for the guys, and so that they were ready to put the brick wall up. When 7 o'clock came, it was early mornings because midsummer you're gonna work early. You don't want to get caught in that heat when you're doing this kind of work. So actually, we weren't even starting. We were starting at like 6:30. So I was there at 6, and we would get done at 2 o'clock, right when it was starting to get hot. So I prepared that way. I would wake up, had all my meals ready, put it in the cooler, got in the truck, got to work, made sure all the guys were set up so that when they came, we could start working, so we could get done right on time, so we didn't get stuck in that heat. Then I would come home after a hard day in the heat. I didn't go, which is a common mistake that I used to do. I used to go straight into my workout after an 8-hour day. I almost needed a reset. So what Pete and I started doing is we would come home from work, we would hop in the ice bath, okay? Because I found that doing caffeine too late in the day would keep me up and too stimulated at night. I wouldn't be able to sleep right. So that ice bath was like a substitute for a cup of coffee. So we would get home, we would have the ice bath, we would sit out in the sun, warm up, and then we would go train. I found that to be a lot better than going home, going right into because I work out at the house. I got the training set up in my basement. Go home, go right into the basement, and just no time to relax, no downtime. So I like that. I came home, took like a 30-minute break, reset my mind, did some deep breathing, relaxed my body because it was high stress during the day. And then I went downstairs with a clear head and a refreshed body and mind, and then I trained. After I trained, I would go upstairs, I would make my dinner, I would meal prep for the following day, and then I would relax. I would take a very warm shower, a nice steam shower for 30 minutes. I take very long showers. I would relax in there, do some deep breathing, a little bit of meditating. I would get out, light up a candle, go in my room, and just like read a book. Or just honestly, sometimes even just sit there, just relax. I don't turn on the TV, I don't go on social media, not that you could still do that, but you really want to moderate that and be careful how long you stay on your socials for. So that's pretty much how I found balance, and that's sustainable, meaning I can do that every single day and not burn out. Okay,
It's what works
so
for you.
it's what works for me, and that's what makes me balance. So Pete, go ahead and talk about how, I mean, yours is pretty similar, but maybe talk about how you were unbalanced for a little bit, and then how you found your balance too,
Yeah,
and how some of the stuff that I did helped.
because everybody's different, and the way my job works is sometimes I'm on call, so I have to volunteer for some hours because I don't have set hours yet. So some weeks are different. Like one week I was working 15-hour days, so I would work 15 hours. I would start at 6 in the morning. I'm getting done at 9 at night, and I actually had to go straight to the gym. I didn't have that time to reset. So my resetting was all being done on the weekend. I would work Monday through Friday, go to work 15 hours, go to the gym, go home, go to sleep, do it again the next day. So it was all getting crammed in, and it was tough but it's what I had to do. I'm still new, so I got to pay my dues. Everybody has to pay their dues at one point. So the way, like I said, the way I was balancing, going straight to the gym, go home, I would maybe try to get my 30-minute reset in. Lay down a little bit, clear my mind. I wasn't going home, going on my phone and scrolling on TikTok for 30 minutes to an hour and then going to sleep because it wasn't helping. I did it the first 2 nights and I was like, I can't do this. So I was going home, I was laying down in bed, closing my eyes a little bit, clearing my mind, relaxing. So I was doing that for 2 weeks. Now I kind of slowed down a little bit. I'm back in another training session. So for this last week, I've had where I could have a schedule. Going in 8, getting out around 3, 4 o'clock, going home, resetting, ice bath, gym, doing the same thing as you, reading a book, getting the candle lit. It's all about the ambiance. We love our ambiance.
I love the ambiance, but you gotta relax, dude. We go on, throw some meditation on YouTube. We just chill out. We gotta put a candle on. When you're stressed out during the day, you really want to make sure that you're relaxing at night and turning off the stim, because that's what's gonna allow your mind and your body to relax and allow you to go into the next day being able to do the same thing. And what that's going to do, it's going to allow you to enjoy your hobby after work. It's going to allow you to perform at work, and you're not going to be dragging your ass, and you're not going to be relying on all kinds of caffeine. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you're going to be getting better sleep as well. Sleep is another thing. That's part of the balance, is making sure that you're sleeping. So let's break it up, Pete. Let's talk about those wins that we were talking about, the 3 wins. So we got a physical win, a mental win, and then we want to have a spiritual win. This is what Pete and I found to make us more balanced overall during the day. So we're doing this day by day over the course of several weeks, several months, several years, and over time it's going to make you feel more wholesome. All right? So a physical win. Pete, what's our physical, cuz me and you we're very similar. So our physical win during the day is our training, right? It's our powerlifting. So we're doing that every day, and
Everybody, it's different. For older people, your physical win might be getting up in the morning, and doing a couple squats, a couple arm rotations, nothing crazy, So everybody's different. For us, we're 20. I'm 23. What are you? 25?
yeah, 25. We're
Yeah.
young. We're young bucks. So
I was gonna
we're
put
training.
you up there at like 26. Nah,
We're training. No, I got another couple months.
You got some time. But yeah, so for us, we go and train and we lift some weight. And at first, I wasn't lifting heavy weight. Now I'm starting to get up there. I've been doing it for 2 years. So nothing happens overnight is the whole point.
Yeah, so
So that was our physical win.
that's our physical win. We got powerlifting. I also do boxing. It's something Pete might want to get into too. I don't, I'm not training
Not yet,
for.
though. I would have too much on my plate and I wouldn't be balanced.
Exactly, I wouldn't be balanced. But so that actually leads into the other thing that we want to talk about is improving your work capacity so that you can expand.
You could sustain it.
And so you could add stuff once a schedule is sustainable. So for example, I got down that I can train my powerlifting at a high level, and I could fit in my relaxation, spend time with my girlfriend, spend time with my family. I was able to establish this over time. Your body adapts to a lot, but it takes time to adapt, so patience is important. But once I adapt it to my schedule, now if I tell my schedule to somebody who has a very relaxed schedule and be like, oh my God, that's so much. But it's not for me because I'm so used to it that if I don't do it that way, I'm going to feel messed up. So I improving your ability to handle stuff is going to increase your ability to balance more stuff, okay? And it's not an overnight process. It takes a long time, and you need to make sure that what you're doing is sustainable in the moment so that as time goes on, you are eventually able to add a little bit more to your plate.
And a lot of the time,
Would you agree with that, Pete?
'cause a lot of the time it's gonna suck, and it kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier with that building block. It's building you up. So yeah, it's gonna. Like I said, I was working 15-hour days for 2 weeks. It sucked, but it built me up, and now I'm kind of getting more into the balance. Now that I'm not working as much as I was. I'm getting more into the balance to where now I kind of figured out, okay, I can meal prep. So what I've been doing actually is meal prepping Sunday for the whole week, even though I'm not working the 15 hours. And I wasn't doing that at the time when I was working the 15 hours. I wasn't meal prep. I was getting home and I was trying to meal prep at night. It was a terrible, terrible idea. I would go to the gym, then try to get home, meal prep at night. It was awful. So what I started doing was I started meal prepping the whole week on Sunday. So now I'm getting out earlier. I already have my food at work now, so I'm good. I'm good for the whole week. So I get out earlier. Now I have a bunch more time because I'm not working as long than I did before. I have the time to unwind. Because I already did. Everything's done. Nothing is getting crammed in. So again, a lot of times it's going to suck, and it's going to take a lot of figuring out what you have to do. So now I wake up in the morning, I can make my breakfast, I make myself a smoothie, I take the smoothie to go, I take my eggs to go, I get to work, I have about 30 minutes before I got to go in, so I eat my smoothie. Then I get a break. So on my break, I'm eating my eggs. And then after, I go back to work for a little bit, I get another break, I eat my lunch. I get my lunch break. So it's all about balancing it all out, and that would be, I guess, a mental win for me because it wasn't meant to.
That's also it's a mental win too, and you found something that's sustainable that you could do over an extended period of time. Now your body knows, okay, Sunday morning, got a meal prep for the week. So you're trained.
You gotta do.
You got to do it because what's the alternative? You go and you don't have any food. You got to get McDonald's or
Exactly.
something. You know what I mean? Like you got to think about what the other side of it is. If you don't do it, it's just as bad. So you might as well do it, achieve, than to not do it and then feel like crap because you got to stop and get fast food or something because you're hungry.
I did it this morning, so I knew I had enough time to hop on the podcast. Now I don't need it.
Now we feel great, dude. We're chilling on the podcast where we could go outside after. We could spend time with our family. We got a lot of time to do other stuff. We got the meal prep and all the productive stuff right out of the way. Now we have the rest of our Sunday to chill. This is relaxing for us. We're hanging out.
And that's where the mental wins come in. It kind of all builds on top of each other.
They all build on top of each other. But some other mental wins, it could be even reading,
Right.
journaling, studying, or like learning something new. You could be learning anything like religion, philosophy. You could be reading case studies, just learning. Meditation's the spiritual win. So meditation, that goes into the spiritual win where we're doing prayer. Everybody's spiritual win's different, right? So I'm Christian, Pete's Christian. The religion is our spiritual win, but everybody's spiritual win is going to be different. So if you're not a religious person, a spiritual win for you could be something like yoga, meditating, like you said. And honestly, I even throw in giving back into the spiritual category because you're sort of like you're giving back. For me, I consider that spiritual. I don't know if that's considered spiritual,
Right.
But
No,
yeah, I think
I would
giving
say
back
so.
is important as well,
Because
and helping people out.
With Christianity, they want you to preach a little bit and give back to other people and help them out. So, but also, I would say for you, if you're not religious, or even if you are religious, like we like to look into different things too. We don't just sit and look at one thing. So we were looking into the Buddhism we were saying earlier.
What is it? The Buddhism?
the Buddhism. The Buddhism.
Oh, no.
How do you say it?
Buddhism. Buddhism, Buddhism. Oh my God.
Buddhism.
What kind of? Oh, that's a different religion.
We're looking into well, because you did more of the research than I did, but we're looking
Oh
into Buddhism
man.
and how that chimes into the meditation. So we're not looking at just one religion. We're looking at a couple other and you could kind of add that into yours.
Well, let's get right into the Buddhism then. With
What did I say?
Buddhism, it's Buddhism.
I know. What did I say?
Buddha.
That
You
was
said
wrong.
Buddhism.
Booty.
You're shot. Oh my God.
But yeah,
So
get into it because you did a little. more
so
of the
so the
research than me.
yeah. So we'll research how other people have done things,
We're keeping
especially
an open
in the
mind.
yeah. You got to keep an open mind. You got to keep an open
Gotta
mind.
keep it open. That's Jean
So-
Claude Van Damme right there. You gotta keep an open
The old school
mind.
blood sport. You got to keep an
Old
open
school
mind.
blood sport.
But we do research on these things. You know, Pete and I we're big into the TV show Vikings and 300 and how the Spartans used to live. So we were doing some research because in Hollywood they really glorify they glorify everything in Hollywood. So they're going to show you the sick battles and stuff that the Spartans did and the big wars. But I'm curious, how did these warriors actually live back in the day? Okay,
You're a very
because
curious man.
times are different, Pete. Times are different. We're not going to war with swords and stuff, and so I'm curious to see
How we
how
can apply
these
that to today?
how these ancient warriors lived and how what they were doing applies to what we do today. Okay, so and what I found at least is that a lot of the concepts are the same in terms of the building blocks of hard work, discipline, moderation. So I was doing a little bit of research on the samurais, and we were just talking about the physical wins, the mental wins, and the spiritual wins, right? So the samurais, we'll take the samurais for an example. Their physical win. If we go through, let's just go through a typical samurai schedule. What we think they would have went through. Okay, so they wake up. I'm sure that they had some sort
From
of
the research that you did.
from the research, yeah, I'm sure that they had some sort of morning routine, which might be praying in one of the temples. All right, and their prayer was meditative based, so they would meditate, and they didn't believe in a god or a higher being. They believed in what they saw. They were on Earth, and that was their god, was the Earth. Okay, so there was no higher being. They didn't believe in a heaven. So they would get up and they would meditate. And that would be their spiritual win. Okay, they were meditating. That was their form of prayer. And they would do it in these monasteries, temples, I guess you could call them. And that's a spiritual win. Then we could assume that they did some sort of learning. They were learning based on what I seen is that they were big into poetry. Okay, so they're big into poetry, and they would learn what they knew, the history of their country and stuff like that. So that was like their schooling, and then they would do their physical training, which was learning how to be a samurai, learning how to be a warrior. So that was like hand-to-hand combat. They were big into swords, so that they would train with the swords. And that's everything. That's the physical win. The mental win would be the studying, the poetry, learning about the culture, learning about the history of the country, and their schooling, learning about the different fighting techniques. And then they would go and apply it. They would do their physical training, and that was how the ancient warriors lived back then. And it's a lot like
What
and
we're
as I
trying
was,
to do.
it's a lot like what we're trying to do
Minus
as
the
modern
war
people.
part.
Minus the, yeah, I mean, for us, the war would be, for us, the training is powerlifting training, and then the
Competition's
war,
the war for us.
is the competition. But it's the same idea. They're conquering, they're achieving. In their head, that's what they were doing, and that was their purpose. It was still exercising balance, moderation, and sustainability, because the samurai weren't going to do something that wasn't sustainable. Yeah, they prided themselves on the hard work, and that's important. But they knew that what they were doing, the human being was capable of doing it. Even though it was difficult, they knew that it was a sustainable way to live for them. And that's what they did. They trained. They fought in battles. They were one of the greatest warriors of all time. That's why I looked them up, because they were so great. And I wanted to know what made them great. And what I came to the conclusion of is it comes down to the balance. They had the physical wins, they had the mental wins, and they had the spiritual wins. And they were doing that every single day on top of exercising balance, moderation, and sustainability.
Sorry, the meditation went off. I'm resetting it. I had it hit me with an ad. I'm like, oh shit, I got an ad. We got some meditation. I don't know if you guys could hear it, probably not, but we got some meditation going on in the background on YouTube to
all
ease
about
our mind.
all about the ambiance.
We love the ambiance. The ambiance is huge.
So
So I
yeah,
missed that
that's
last part that you said.
well, I was just saying how we're trying to do that now in modern times.
Right.
You know,
So-
what the samurais did. So
Maybe
That's-
one day
I
we
mean-
could study the samurais, become samurais ourselves. That would be sick.
modern day samurais.
Modern day, yeah.
So that's pretty much it. What we're striving to do is live
Striving
more
to be-
balanced, live
Striving to
live
be
in
a
moderation.
better version of us, the
Yeah.
best version of us that we could be, and by doing and the way we're gonna do that is by balancing, sustaining, and moderating everything, and that's pretty much everything we just talked about.
Right. And let's also talk about how some other things that we're doing, like the meditation has been big, the deep breathing. When Pete
Yeah,
and
I
I
love
we went
that.
to
I love
competition, it was the night before a competition, and we were both a little nervous. We sat there and meditated for 15 minutes together, and then we meditated also before the competition. We got up and we right in the morning at like 5 a.m. we were doing some deep breathing, and that really helped us as we were competing. We
did the
were just more
meditation.
relaxed.
We did the meditation in the basement. Was it before or after?
Yeah, we did the meditation. We meditated the night before, and then we woke up in the morning and we went
Right.
downstairs in my gym in the basement, and we meditated some more before we went to the venue.
Oh, right, yeah, I'm
we,
thinking of a different time.
yeah. So, but yeah, let's talk about how, because a lot of drinking and the use of nicotine and drugs has been so much more common in our society. I mean, drugs is never okay. We were talking about like heavy drugs and stuff, but let's talk about how alcohol and how it's all the same. Like if you drink too much, that's not good. Now, is drinking bad? I don't think so. I don't think drinking is bad. I think drinking is bad and becomes a problem when you're doing it in a way that's not balanced. Okay? So
Yeah,
Jesus
yeah,
himself, as Christians, Jesus himself drank wine, right? So we can argue there's nothing wrong with drinking wine in the Christian faith. They give you wine at church. They're not giving you a gallon of wine, they're giving you a sip, but wine is okay. So I guess, Pete, how much is too much? And at what point are you going overboard? And this doesn't have to just do with alcohol. We could talk about all stim,
That's
caffeine,
right, man.
alcohol, video games. At what point is it too much? And how do you moderate it?
So I would say for me, even with the diet, like sometimes you're eating. So like for me, actually, recently I've been eating too much fruit. So that's not good either. It could get you bloated, So too much of anything is no good. So yeah, you want to have a glass of whiskey, go for it. Go have a glass of whiskey. But
A glass or a shot, Pete? A glass is like what, 6 shots?
like a little bit of whiskey on rocks. You know what I'm saying?
Buddhism.
You're never gonna stop at that now.
Oh man.
But yeah, you want to have a glass, once a week. Nothing crazy. You don't want to overdo it. Once in a while, yeah, you can overdo it. So like for me, I've been playing. I'm going through my 2-week Minecraft phase right now. I've been playing a good amount of Minecraft when I get the time. So I find myself throwing on that ambiance. I throw a little Minecraft ambiance on the side. I start building my base. I get into it. By the time I know it, 2-3 hours pass by. I'm like, oh shit, I've been playing for too long. I gotta go do something else. I can't overdo it because then I don't accomplish anything. I played for 2-3 hours. I didn't get my meal in. Now I gotta go eat. So I gotta go eat. I gotta do other things. Go eat. Maybe Football's on today. I might go watch a little bit of football. Nothing crazy though. You don't want to overdo it.
You don't want to overdo it, and then when there's a time to relax, you relax. When there's a time to train, you train, and when there's a time to work, you work. Now, doing the balance and moderation, that doesn't mean you're not working hard. You're work when it's time to work, you're working hard. You have to work smart though. That's the biggest thing. So if we're in a competition, we're not going balls to the wall week 1. It's all about pacing. The key to sustainability is pacing yourself. You got to be able to pace yourself over an extended period of time to create long-term results. Otherwise, you're just going to burn out. So we don't want to burn out, and we don't
Right.
want to do too much
That's kind of what
anything.
I was trying to say.
Like Pete said with the fruit, you can't do too much fruit. You can't do too much carbs. You can't do too much protein. We know too much protein is going to store as fat. You can't do too much saturated fat. You can't do too much sugar. You could get diabetes. Or too much of caffeine is going to impact your heart. Too much of anything is going to have an adverse reaction, and you could train
And
too much as well.
I'm still in the process of learning all this. So if I sound like sometimes I'm like off a little bit of what I'm saying, it's because I'm still learning, and he knows more than I do. So that's why he just
You're still
chimed in.
you're still learning, but you're doing it, Pete. You're doing it. You're doing better than you
trying my
were.
best.
You were doing better every. I could see it from the outside in. You are getting better consistently every single week. Even you texted me. I didn't have to text you yesterday as your coach or today and be like, Pete, did you meal prep? As a matter of fact, you're the one who got me off my ass to meal prep because I was gonna meal prep till later. And Pete's like, I'm meal prepping right now. I was like, oh shit,
I
I'm
gotta
gonna
get
meal
it
prep
done
too.
first thing. I gotta get it done first thing on Sunday.
And you know that about yourself,
'Cause
and
then-
that's what's
'cause then I know-
sustainable.
yeah, then I know I can relax my mind because Sunday's my relax and unwind day.
Right.
So I know if I get my meal
So-
prepper out of the way, I can get right into the podcast. I don't got to worry about it. Now after the podcast, I'm gonna go take my ice bath. After my ice bath, I can watch a little bit of the Giants. Hopefully they do a little good, But so.
But you're not sitting in the ice bath for 2 hours,
No.
Pete. And you're
No.
not training powerlifting for 6 hours. You're not 3, 4, 5, 6 hours in the gym. Pete and I like to keep it 45 minutes to an hour. And then once a week we'll have like a bigger day, a more specific day, and that will be maybe an hour and a half tops. Okay, where we're
SBD day.
yeah, like if we have an SBD day or
Wow,
something,
man,
it's a little bit more involved where we're doing more movements that
You're doing something
particular
a little
day.
bit longer,
It's a little
but-
bit higher focus. But during the week, we keep it when we're working hard. We're keeping it 45 minutes to an hour
Right.
because we know anything more than that is going to eat into our recovery and relaxation time. So during that 45 minutes, we are doing the most efficient and effective stuff possible that's going to create long-term success. Because Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither are these gains, right, Pete? I mean, it takes time. You're not going to do everything that you got to do in a week, but you could do it over the course of 4 weeks. You could do it over the course of 12 weeks, a cycle. You're going to get long-term results. But you need to chip away at it. You got to chip away. You're not going to take big bites off. When you're eating a steak, you're not throwing the whole steak in your mouth. You're taking little bites at a time. It's the same thing with everything. You cannot overwhelm yourself because you're going to burn out. And that's exactly what the samurai taught, and that's exactly why they were so good at what they did, because they understood the importance of moderation, sustainability, and creating a balanced life. The physical wins, the mental wins, the spiritual wins. They were meditating. I'm sure their diet was clean. They were good swordsmen. It was the whole package. It's not just one thing. And that's why I see a lot of these guys, they're roided out of their mind. They're on the chicken and rice diet, and they're walking around looking like their heart's about to explode. You could see it in their face, and they're unbalanced, man. I mean, I don't believe in the use of steroids anyway, but a lot of these guys, they just live in the gym, they're roided up, and that's not healthy. That's not how in our case, God intended it to be. You don't want to do too much of anything because it's going to have an adverse reaction. But I do feel that when you're doing stuff that's productive, you need to fully focus on it and be as effective and efficient as possible, whether it's studying, praying, gym. If you know that 45 minutes is all you're doing in the gym, that better be the most effective and efficient 45 minutes. You're not doing 45 minutes of fucking off. You're not doing 10, you're doing a set and then 10 minutes of talking. You're timing your sets. You're being effective. You're hitting your RP, you're hitting your percentage on the day, you're hitting the correct intensity. You want to be as efficient as possible. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to you don't time is of the essence, and you want to make sure that you are valuing your time and getting the most out of your time. So for me, when I was doing that competition, I totaled 1706 at 181. That was the best competition of my life a couple months ago. I didn't
Hey,
spend
who
more
got you
than
out
an
of
hour.
retirement? Who got you out of retirement?
Hey, you got me out of retirement. You know, even me.
This guy wanted to retire. He was like, "That's it, I'm done." And I was like, "No, you're not. You're
But
gonna
I
dude."
found without powerlifting, I was unbalanced. Because
Yeah,
what
you
was I
hated
doing?
it.
I was just working.
Yeah,
Man, I had
texting
nothing.
me. He was texting me. He's like, "Dude, I kind of want to compete again. Like, I'm bored." And I'm just like, "So compete again. Do it." That's what
I
you
was
wanna
out of
do, do it.
balance.
Exactly.
And I did it, and I feel so much better, and I can't thank you enough. And it was almost
I
like
can't thank you.
God meant it to be that way. We needed each other to help each other out, and that's what we were talking about that last week. Is that the accountability? That's important too. Having a friend, having somebody
yep.
that's supporting you, because nobody could do great things on their own. I could come if it wasn't for Peter, I might have never competed again. I don't know. Peter motivated me. Seeing how hard Peter was working, and everybody's gonna have slumps where they're kind of down on themselves, overthinking, droughts, and thinking what's next for me. I was in that position, and it's a dark place.
You need something
Seeing
to chase.
you need something to chase always. That's what keeps you alive. And I saw Peter was so passionate about lifting like I once was, and I'm like, that's not gone. I'm just being lazy, and I'm not being open-minded right now. So I got back into it. Peter motivated me to get back into it. Seeing how well he was doing, I was like, I'm gonna get back into
We
it.
hype each other up, dude.
Yeah, I
We
mean,
really
I
hype
just
each other up.
I'm happy that I got back into it, and it's about overcoming adversity, which I've learned to do. Back with the hip thing, I fell off after my hip got hurt. I'm like, it's not worth it. I don't want to do permanent damage to my hip. Maybe this isn't me anymore. So I tried doing other stuff. I was boxing a little bit. I was trying to fill the void because I love powerlifting so much, and I felt like I lost it. But I didn't. I just needed to find my balance because I was too much powerlifting, and that's why I got hurt. That's the point I'm trying to say. I was too much into lifting and so close-minded, and that's all I cared about. I was at work thinking about the shit, all right? I would go, and then I would go home. I wanted to do so well that I was doing so bad, and eventually I got hurt. And I realized that it was the whole thing together after that. I can make a comeback, but it can't just be about powerlifting. It's got to be about everything. And then everything pulled together. Yeah, so it all works out at the end, but you need to understand, you need to free yourself from any one particular thing. You can't be too much of anything. That's the whole purpose of this podcast, is that you can be a great powerlifter and still do other stuff. As a matter of fact, doing other stuff will help. Now, it doesn't mean go fuck off. Don't go out every day. That's throwing go out every night. That's throwing off the balance. So in order to achieve greatness, Pete, we know that you need to have balance, moderation, and a sustainable schedule. Whether you're trying to be the best powerlifter out there, you're trying to be a lawyer, you're trying to be a doctor, you're trying to be a mason contractor, whatever you are trying to do, it's going to take a long time to get good at, and it's not going to happen overnight. In the meantime, what you should be more worried about is not being so much of a great lawyer, a great accountant, a great doctor. Focus on the little details that are involved in becoming a great accountant, involved in becoming a great doctor. Break down the minute details and exercise that over the course of several weeks, months, years. And then in 8 years, 10 years, you'll see how good of a doctor, lawyer, and accountant you are. So it's not about what you're doing right now. I mean, it is. But you have to think that you're doing all these little things so that you don't burn out. You're doing them in a sustainable way so that in the long term, you're getting a return on your investment. So that's what it comes down to. If you're going into things saying I'm going to be the best power lifter, and you're into lifting and you're like, I'm going to do it within the next 2 years, you're most likely sadly mistaken. And setting those unrealistic expectations is going to backfire, and you're just going to burn out. And that's the key to being great at anything. Go back to the samurai.
Dude,
So
I don't
you
even
could
know
go
what
back
else
to
to say on
you
that.
could go.
You summed that up like really good. I mean,
So
and
I
and
think that's a good place to end too. But go ahead, Pete, because I know we're
and
running
yeah,
out of time here.
last thing I'm gonna say is, like you said, too much of anything's no good. So you balance everything out you do, and then after a while you do get a little burnt out, and you wanna go out and reward yourself. So you go out one night, you have a little fun, you reward yourself, and then that's it. Then it's back to business. So you don't want to do too much of strictly focusing on it. Sometimes you want to let loose a little bit and have fun.
Yeah, there's a time and place to do it though.
For it, and you
So
want to
if
reward
you're
yourself with it.
yeah, if you're in prep or it's a busy time, and if you're an accountant and it's tax season, you're locking in. You might
can't
be a
go
little
out
off
and have
balance. Yeah, you might be a little off balance, but you got to try to keep the balance relative to what you're going through, right? So if I'm in prep, I'm doing whatever I got to do to make sure that I'm sustaining progress throughout prep, but I am fully focused on prep. When I'm not in prep, I'm not as like I got to do this, and this.
Right.
You want to keep you
keep
want it to be sustainable.
But also, because we were both in prep and we did a competitions together. After the competition, that's when we were like right after. That's when we were able to unwind, knock back a few drinks, hang out, but not overdoing it. Once again, you don't want to.
That was after the competition. We celebrated it. We weren't doing this for yeah, and it was a day. We had a cigar
because we were fucking locked in for me at least it was 3 months. For
we
you,
were
it was a little
locked
bit
in.
less,
We were locked in for
sure
months.
You weren't gonna do it yet, and I had to force his ass into it. I was
Yeah,
like, let's
but
go.
I got into it, and we were locked in, and then we rewarded ourselves after. It was like a couple warriors going to war, and then after the battle, they won. They relaxed, they drank, they had fun, but then on Monday morning, they're right back to business.
Back to it, so.
But they're in the off-season mode. They're not in competition mode. We got back on Monday. We started training, easing back into things. There's a time and place for everything. Let's just end it there. There's a time and place for everything. And so thank you guys for listening, those who listened. Hopefully we'll be doing more podcasts like this in the future. So we would like to have your input on how we did. Some podcasts that we're thinking about talking about, and you guys could drop some ideas as well. But we're talking about more like our holistic diet, eating a whole foods diet, which both Peter and I do. And
I'm
our
still
mental
working on it. You're better than that.
yeah, but you're doing these things. You're living the life, man. Don't you take credit. You're living the life, all right? We're going to also talk about we're going to do another podcast talking about our training mentality. We kind of touched on it, but we're going to get more into detail about overcoming obstacles, when to push, when to pull back, how to troubleshoot our training if something's not going right, and then overcoming our self-doubt, which everybody has. So let's end it there, Pete. I think we're running out of time here on the podcast.
Yeah,
but
one last thing I just want to say is
go ahead.
Leave some stuff down in the comments. Something that we said, whether you
Some
liked
feedback,
it, disliked it, whatever you want to say in the comments. Comment. This is going to go up on Apple Podcasts, so I don't think you can comment there, and it's going to go up on YouTube. So subscribe on YouTube, follow on Apple Podcasts, leave your comments down below on YouTube, and that's it.
All right, thank you guys for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one. Don't forget to exercise Buddhism. Peter's new religion.
I'm never gonna live that down.
All right, guys.
We'll
Later.
see you next week.